I decided to make a video that people might actually want to watch for once and talk about Drop's newest custom keyboard, the CSTM. To be honest, it took me a long time to realize that CSTM didn't stand for anything, it's just the word custom without any vowels. Now I don't like it when companies do this with names, it sounds really silly, so I'm gonna pretend it stands for creamy, swappable, typing mechanical keyboard, with mechanical keyboard being one word. Anyways, as you can see, it comes in its really boring box, nothing to write home about there, and you get this instruction card. Below that is the keyboard itself wrapped in plastic, but we'll take a closer look at that later. Picking it up, I actually thought it had a decent amount of weight, which surprised me because there's almost no metal in it. And you can actually remove the cardboard that it was sitting on to reveal your other accessories, though there's not much. I do wish they made it more obvious that you're supposed to do this, because I bet there's going to be a lot of people who don't figure that out, and are going to be wondering where their USB cable, keycap, and switch pullers are. Back to the keyboard itself though, you might have noticed that from the top you can't see any legends, and you might think, wow, has Drop finally ditched the shine-through RGB and embraced the super elite members of the mechanical keyboard hobby and gone with completely blank keycaps? And the answer is no. See, on this board, the shine-through legends are actually on the front of the keycaps. You can't see them that well because it's not on, but I won't give you a better look later. The side profiles are super plain and boring, but that's actually fine depending on what Drop does later in the future. I'll explain what I mean by that after the typing test. As for the back of the board, there's just this plain weight that doesn't add much heft, it being aluminum and all. The text feels like it's UV printed and I actually don't mind it. It's a lot better than a sticker, and if Drop's gonna brand our boards anyways, I'd prefer if it's on the back where no one can see. Here's a slightly better look at the RGB, but you can't see it that well because the light that I have pointing at my desk is super bright when I'm filming, so you can see some of it poking through, but the letters look like they're just white. But just trust me, it looks fine in real life. You can also see the legends quite clearly when the keyboard is on your desk and you're typing normally as well. They chose to do it this way because the CSTM uses south-facing RGB, which is a good thing if you care about north-facing interference, but it also means that normal shine-through keycaps won't look as good because the light is on the bottom instead of the top. But personally, I have to say that I love this aesthetic. I've always been fond of ninja printed keycaps, and it wasn't for the fact that these feel too smooth and slippery. I would probably actually like them. Anyways, on to the typing test. And that actually sounds unexpectedly nice. The stabs don't sound awful, and it's a lot punchier than I would have guessed a plastic board from Drop to be. At $150, this might actually be a decent budget board option. I would have been a lot more sure of that though if this released a couple years ago, before budget boards started getting both cheaper and better. But because this is a Drop product, you just know at some point this is gonna go on a steep sale. This feels like a good time to mention that the default switch puller it comes with really sucks, and I wish they didn't cheap out on it. The combined switch and keycap pullers can't be that much more expensive, and they should really invest in those. Now the pre-built version of this keyboard comes in two options for switches. You can either choose the Gateron Brown Pro 3s or the Gateron Yellow KS3s. I chose the latter because I'm not gonna buy brown switches if I don't have a choice. At about 23 cents a switch, the yellows are actually a pretty good budget option. The stem wobble isn't bad, and they actually sound quite nice. They're also factory lubed, though not as much as I would have liked. What I do like though is the main selling feature of this board. You can just plop the top off and change it whenever you like. Drop has already started selling alternative ones, though I don't have any here to show you because they start shipping in about a month. I'll be checking out this board again later when I get those, along with the stainless steel weight, so subscribe if you want to see that. But for now I only have this one, and this one is just plastic. And with the top of the case back on, we just drop it into place. The magnets will keep it there well enough. This is why I said that the side profile being so plain is fine, because in theory, Drop could just make this board have whatever side profile they want. They can just release new top cases to make it look like anything really, including whatever collaborations they have going on with things like Lord of the Rings or whoever they're currently working with. I can 100% see Drop just making a new top case for every keycap set they release from now on, and if you're someone who wants to constantly change the look of your keyboard without, you know, buying a new keyboard every time, this could be a really compelling reason to pick up this board. Anyways, I didn't get to build anything yet, so let's just take this board apart. All you need is a really big Phillips and to take the top case off. I don't know if they're planning on selling this thing made out of metal in the future as well, but for now at least you can't buy one. The same goes for the bottom of the keyboard, it only comes in plastic. I was pretty careful when lifting up the PCB in order to avoid tearing any JST cables, but it turns out you don't have to be because there is no daughter board. That explains why the USB-C cutout on the back is so big. And as you can see, this thing is just packed with foam. We've got some in between the PCB and plate, a layer underneath the PCB, and a thick slab of silicone below that. In fact, if we remove everything to get the plate off, you can see that we have another layer of IXPE foam. But while I had the keyboard open this much, I decided to check out the stabs. These are Gateron screw-in stabs, and honestly I'm shocked that they worked as well as they did, because they're almost unlubed. The wires just have that super thin out-of-focus layer of something, and the walls are completely dry. So I relubed them myself, not that I really needed to, and put the board back together, but this time with some of Drop's more premium keycaps. They're DCX white on black. I figure if you buy this board from Drop, you might want to buy their DCX keycaps as well, and want to know what that would sound like. Take a listen. Now in terms of sound, I don't think it's worth the $100 to change to the DCX set, but they are less slippery, so it feels better to type on. And speaking of changing keycaps, this board makes it really easy to get the harder to remove keycaps like Escape because you can just take off the top case. This makes it much less of a hassle if you want to change your keycaps to something like, say, the black ceramic keycaps by Syracuse. But luckily I don't have to deal with that because I have my super secret method of changing keycaps by tapping the keys that use stabilizers. And overall, I have to say that I am pleasantly surprised by the sound and feel of this board. It sounded good enough right out of the box, and it sounded even better with a change of keycaps. I like how easy it is to customize in the future, and I'm hoping for some cooler designs down the road. What I'm expecting Drop to eventually do is start offering promotions where you get a free top case if you buy a matching keycap set. Like if you were to buy, say, a Cyberpunk keycap set, you would also get a Cyberpunk top case. That would be a lot cheaper than doing a buy one get one free when it comes to keycaps, and it also would save the customer from buying an extra keycap set that they don't want. Plus, that'll compel people to buy this keyboard, that way their free top case won't go to waste. Now, I don't think this is the best budget keyboard out there, not by a long shot, but for a specific audience that wants to constantly change the look of their keyboard, this is by no means a bad option. And it's not bad for somebody just starting out in the keyboard hobby either. It's easy to assemble and disassemble, comes with lots of different foams and silicone for you to play around with and see what kind of sounds you actually like, and has an easy upgrade path to being a more metallic board. But speaking of upgrades, I mentioned this earlier, but I've already ordered the metal top case and steel weight, and we'll be checking them out in a video in the future. Subscribe if you want to see that. But more importantly, let me know what you want to see in the next video. What combinations of plates and switches and keycaps would you like to see when I revisit this board? I'll do my best to include whatever sound test I can, to a certain degree. I'm not going to spend $1,000 buying authentic GMK darlings and some out-of-stock obscure switches, for example. Try to keep it reasonable. But until then, this has been Trash Builds, and I will see you next time.